Hi, everyone. I have good friends at AIR and board members, and I've been heartened to be part of the education research community in this role. Oops, sharing the wrong way. Sorry. Can't talk and do things at the same time. Here we go. Slideshow. Um,
Oh, and Donna, so
so,
just like as you're starting, because like
Mhm.
we'll cut these different tapes, so like just introduce yourself now, and then like we'll cut it, and so that
Oh,
when
great.
we start the video, and then we'll go forward with that.
Sure. Absolutely. Hi, I'm Donna Phillips. I am the president and CEO at the Center for Civic Education. We engage in education research as part of how we fulfill our mission to promote an enlightened and responsible citizenry and the principles and practice of democracy. And so the research findings I'm going to share today, um, my hope is that as you listen to them, you think about all the different ways we can lift this up as a field, because that's what we're working towards as well. So although this was specifically on our flagship We the People program, it really has broad applicability for civics instruction in elementary period, also for experiential learning, and some of the other things that our previous presenters have talked about when you have students engaging in current events and reading and writing and analysis and critical thinking. And so we're really excited. This is our first study we've done on elementary students. Our previous ones have focused on civic knowledge, skills, and dispositions for middle and high school. So if you're a 5-second overview, if you're not familiar with We the People, it is a curricular program. We have it at elementary, middle, and high school. It integrates and is aligned to your typical US history course or civics or government class or AP government. And so that is how most of the teachers implement it. In elementary, though, we know that there's a lot of different ways the elementary day shapes up. So in our study, we worked with literacy teachers, some STEM teachers, after school clubs, but also just some social studies teachers. But some schools don't even have designated social studies teachers, as you know. We the People culminates in a simulated congressional hearing. And so it's the totality of this program that was the focus of our study. Through a seed grant, which focuses on supporting effective educator development, um, these were the goals of this project. And so we really wanted to make sure that the professional development program that we had for the teachers was creating inclusive, identity-safe environments for students to learn about civics and their government, and also the student outcomes, including civic knowledge, skills, and dispositions, but also how that relates to literacy, because we know there's a connection and we wanted to start contributing to the evidence base for it so that we can be even stronger advocates for elementary civics. And that was really why we structured our study the way we did. So these are the questions that we asked that we're researching, focused on the teachers. To what extent do they gain knowledge of skills or knowledge of civics? How do they incorporate pedagogies that are conducive to the teaching of those? And how does that improve their instructional practice? And then for students, how does it improve their civic knowledge, skills, and dispositions and general literacy? It was a randomized control test, and with ethnographies, single case studies, and some qualitative analysis of student writing. And here's, so they receive 40 hours of the professional learning. Starting over here, they take the pretest on civic knowledge, skills, and dispositions, and literacy practices, the teachers. Then the teachers receive the professional learning. Some of it is over the course of the school year as well. And then the students take the pretest before as the school year begins, and then everyone takes the post test. The control group did not receive the professional development, but similarly, the students and teachers take the pre and post test. And so here are our numbers. We're in year two. Year two is kind of fits and starts because our grant got terminated and then given back, but maybe terminated again. But these are our active numbers of our teachers in both the study group and the control group, and you can see how they're divided out across elementary and middle. And we'll have this data as we finish year two. Come heck or high water, we will finish year two. The data is still coming in, so we will have a complete data set, and we're hoping to be able to continue and finish year three. This is where our year one participating teachers and students are. And year two, as you can see, we've expanded. And so we have teachers and students in all of the states in yellow and orange. So what did we find out? It's not surprising. Students who, teachers who are engaged in the direct teaching, the professional development for themselves, and the teaching directly of civics, their civic knowledge increases as compared to the control group. Student civic knowledge increases when they get direct instruction in civic education, and make sure and in a comprehensive curricular way. And you know, so of course we see the increase for students in civic knowledge, but not so much for teachers if they're not doing the professional development. I want you to focus on this for a minute, because we're going to come back to this. So in elementary, look at the significant increase between students pre and post, and then compared to the control group. 129% increase pre and post tests for students in elementary. Still a significant increase in middle school, but not nearly as great. And there's a phenomenon here in elementary that I think really gives rise to a strong advocacy point we can make. We care about our teachers because they have to know what they're teaching. It's just as much for them as it is for their students. So these are the pre and post test scores of our teachers in our project versus those in the control group. Some similarities in current events, but many more differences in, you know, core democratic principles, electoral process, etc., for the teachers participating in the professional development. And then how are they going about it? They're working with primary documents. They're doing more debates. Obviously, the simulated hearing is the project they do at the end. And then for the control group, you know, there's still instruction happening, but it's not at the same level of increase in practices of civics pedagogies. And then we do actually have a whole separate study measuring the social emotional learning outcomes. So I didn't focus on that here, but these are some of those key things that as part of our pre and post test, students show increases in all of these things: teamwork and communication. And I'm going to go quickly through this because we'll focus more on another day on the social emotional learning pieces. But you can see how, you know, students learning in this experiential way more frequently show these social emotional learning skills or civic virtues or the soft skills, the civic competencies, however you want to name these essential skills. And this is more of a dispositional aspect, but, you know, they plan to vote when they're eligible. They feel like they can make a difference in their community. They look forward to going to class. So implications for, you know, student attendance, and similarly with similar results for teachers, teacher retention. Now, we did start focusing on the literacy aspect, and we started with the teachers. So this is a lot of numbers, but if you look here where it says every class, and we ask teachers, how often do you focus on these skills? So before implementing We the People, 63% of the time. And then after implementing We the People, they focused on these different types of literacy skills at an increased rate across the board. And so breaking it just to isolate that, you know, we operationally define decoding, reading fluency, et cetera, digital literacy, vocabulary. And so what we see preliminarily is that teachers focus more on the skills of literacy embedded into their civics instruction than they did before implementing the program at these rates. And these are significant point differences for this. There's two things coming up. One is called the primacy effect. And what we're finding with data that we have from high school through elementary is that 129% civic knowledge increase in elementary is huge. When students don't get civics earlier, they have larger gains later. And so we always have like the largest gains in elementary and like the smallest, there's still gains in high school. When students get civics early on, their knowledge gains decrease, but what we have seen is that their civic skills and dispositions gains increase. So the earlier they get civics, oh my God, sorry about that. The earlier the students get civics, the more their skills and dispositions can then be formed later. If they're just getting civics, by middle or high school, they're playing catch up. And so they're focusing on the knowledge and not getting as much into the dispositions and skills. So we're teasing that out, and we're going to have a research brief on that coming soon. And finally coming soon, because we're still receiving all of the written work, will be an analysis that incorporates reading, writing, speaking, and listening standards, and looking at their actual writing over time, in addition to the students' reflections on the process of speaking and listening and being part of the simulated hearings. And with that, I will cede time, probably negative time balance, back to Ace, and thank you all.